Hey folks, Steve here with another Fatal Alliances video. Figured I'd try to get another video in here today on April 2nd. So I managed to get 3 videos done yesterday, and I have a little bit of time on hand to do another one, and we're getting closer and closer to the end of the turn, or at least to the point where the impulses end. We begin doing the end of turn cleanup. So I figured I'd try to get past the now current Central Powers impulse and what will likely be the last impulse. We'll see. Right now we're on impulse 11, which puts the chances of the turn ending at 50%, a base chance of 50%. If the Central Powers were to do some passing, then it would be up to 70%, but the Central Powers have a couple of actions that they'd like to take here before the end of the turn if they can, so it'll be sort of a coin flip to see if the impulses will end. And so, like usual, at the start of every Central Power impulse, we're going to do a weather roll. So we rolled a 2. I'm going to take a look at my charts for the weather, and that is going to provide, in the July and August time frame, fine everywhere except for rain in the northern monsoon. Okay, so this is somewhat better than the last series of turns. The storms in the northern monsoon region have turned just to rain, which is good. And and come to think of it, actually, we needed to add 1 to our die roll, which actually makes this roll of a 2 a 3. So on the weather chart, there's asterisks on certain results of the weather, and because we had a roll of, I think it was a 1 last time, or no, it was, oh no, it was a 10. I'm sorry, not a 1, but a 10. So we had storms. So we don't add 1 to our die roll. It is just the natural 2, and it's still just the rain. So it would have been the rain either way. So sorry for that confusion. But so we've got rain in the Pacific, in the North Monsoon region, which means that instead of storms, it's rain, and that puts Truk and Kwajalein back in play for the Japanese action to go with the combined action. So we'll go through this impulse, and we'll see what else happens very quickly. Just in terms of our sequence of play, we have done the weather. There's not going to be any new declarations of war at this point. We're going to do our actions, and according to the little battle plan I've written up, so obviously German-controlled Japan units have their combined. We're going to have Austria-Hungary do a land, and Germany will also do a land, mostly just because they're just going to do, they're going to take a few land action related things, and I just figure let them have the land action and have all the activity limits for that. So because we're doing the combined for Japan, we will always do the combined for Japan. We have to decide if we're going to do any naval movement. So here's where we're kind of at a decision point. So right now, the Japanese have taken 1 objective from the Germans. So instead of that being worth 1 objective point for victory at the end of the game, it's now a half value. Right now, Truk and Kwajalein and Rabaul are all counting for 1 whole, essentially objective point or objective for victory purposes for the Germans right now. The Allies are going to want to take these rather than the Japanese. Again, you can look at the special Japanese rules in section 15 of the rulebook. It's just, again, a very sort of multifaceted, complex situation where the German-controlled Japanese units would ideally like to take these before the Allies do, like Commonwealth would want to take these. If Japan can take these, they will count as half an objective. So again, the Germans want to have the Japanese units take them from themselves, so to speak, because half an objective point is better than none, which is what would be happening if the Allies get them. However, the Allies then have the potential to make those halves into none by bringing the Japanese as a full active ally on the Allied side of the war, which takes a lot of investment on the diplomatic side of the game. And so right now, I was thinking about having these two service vessels, which can transport one division each, and just take these guys and try to grab Truk, and we can only do one attack per combined, so we have to pick Truk or Kwajalein, and Truk's probably just the better choice because it's the major port. We're going to be able to capture one this turn, and I don't see these three spaces actually being in danger of the Allies right now because, at least not right away, because the Commonwealth just lost a bunch of transports in Calais. The remaining transports are here in India, but the Allied player is going to have to make a choice. Are they going to send these Indian units with transports to the Middle East in preparation for the Ottoman war with the Ottomans? Are they going to transport them to France to help France out? They don't even have an HQ unit here right now to be able to lend foreign troop commitment to France, so that's going to be a problem. Alternatively, they could bring the Indian units down here and attempt to grab these objective cities. That's kind of a long way to go, but it's going to be a tough choice for the Allies due to the limited number of transports that they have. Otherwise, the Allies could have this Anzac division go on one of these service vessels, but they're going to have what is essentially a fairly weak division, a one combat power versus the really tough odds of a naval invasion in really any of these hexes. So it's sort of a decision to make as the Germans. Do I actually think the Allies are going to get over here anytime soon? Because otherwise I can just leave the Japanese sit and do nothing. Or I can just try to seal this up, and that's just going to, again, incentivize the Allies to influence Japan diplomatically. So, again, I don't know if there's a true right answer here, but since I'm probably only going to be playing the one turn, what we will just do for the fun of it is we'll have this unit, which, again, these are all sort of in the right hexes. I just split them up for logistical purposes for myself. But this division's going to ride in the service vessel, and they're going to go to they're going to go to the one box, and they will prepare for the naval invasion of Truk during the invasion phase. So that is a naval move. They can get to here in the Marianas with just the rain, no big deal. There will be no shore bombardment or anything, which would be heavily limited by their space on the track here. But we're going to do that because when they go to invade, the Germans are going to basically disregard the notional unit. And we covered that in a previous video. That's an option that anytime you're being invaded and you have notional units, you can just sort of drop them. No big deal. Okay, so that is our one and only naval move that we're going to make. Everything else is kind of, fine where it is. There's no naval combat to speak of at this point that we are going to want to have happen. The opponent isn't going to have any naval combats because the subs back there in the Faroes Gap are going to... They're definitely not going to commit to battle, so they're just going to stay out there. Then, of course, I close the sequence of play. I think I always do that for some reason. Strategic bombardment, we're not going to do any, but we are going to do some ground strikes, and the ground striking that's going to occur here is going to happen in the Western Front. And what we're going to do is we're going to have this 75mm artillery unit try to strike here. And the reason why we're going to do that is if we get the odd chance that the Allies get another impulse, we don't want these guys to be able to attack anywhere. And it's really far and away the strongest stack that the French have right now. Even if we just flip them, they're going to flip back up at the end of the impulses. But this is going to limit the French's ability to attack back. And if we're lucky enough to flip all of the units, which would be very difficult with this artillery, I might even attack this hex. I mean, probably not, but you know, hey, it's worth a shot, and honestly, it doesn't hurt anything at this point. So we're going to do the flip, or we're going to do the ground strike. So we're going to roll for first the 12th French Corps. So a 2 or less will flip it. Nope. Then the 6th French Corps. Nope. And then the French division there. No. Okay. So that ended up being a total whiff. But again, and no pun intended, but it was worth a shot, and it doesn't really hurt us because I don't think they have enough odds to make it a worthwhile attack here. 8 and 5 is 13. Only be 2 to 1 odds. Yeah, it just wouldn't really be worth it. I don't think. Well, we'll see. We'll see when the French come up to bat, if they come up to bat. So, okay, ground strikes are complete. Rail movement. I think we were going to do a rail. And what we were going to do is we were going to rail this unit here that is in a station, which is a city or an HQ. And we are going to actually send them up to Krakow up here. So there's a station here buried underneath all these counters. So just sort of reinforcing here. Now they're going to be flipped, but again, I'm expecting the impulses to end here. They'll flip back. They're going to have some issues coordinating with the Hungarian units, but we can sort, as the Serbian front is shutting down or is beginning to get there, I can start transitioning some troops up to the other fronts. At some point, I'm going to want to put units here if I think Italy is going to go to the Allies, but it's a little early yet to know what's going to happen with that. So rails are done. Very easy here. Land movements. We're going to have a good bit of land movement here. First thing we're going to do is we're going to move these guys 1, 2, 3, and I could have this unit move 1 more, and I will. So they're just moving. They're gonna start leaving the front. No big deal. I'm not sure there are any other movements we want to make over here. I think these guys are in as good a position as they can be. Everything else is fine. We are going to do some movements over here with the Germans. So Fate Alliances, and I think this carries over even into World in Flames itself. The zones of control are... I'm not sure what the right way to describe this is. Some Zocs are sticky, some are slippery, or there's some other way to explain this. You know, when I'm in the zone of control of these cav units here, these units can still move. They can still move a little bit through the Zocs. And just to give you the rules reference for that, at the beginning of the rules, there is a whole thing on Zocs. Okay. Yeah, so in rules section 11.9.1, when it talks about moving a land unit, a unit must always end its move when it enters an opponent's Zoc. You may move a unit which starts its move in an opponent's Zoc directly into another, even a Zoc of the same unit. And so we would refer to that in some of the lingo as oozing in this case. It means that as long as my units stop after entering another Zoc hex, even though they're leaving one already, they can all move at least 1 hex. And so this whole German front can technically, as long as there's movement to be had, and you're going to see, you know, I can't do a whole lot of movement in too many places, I can do a little shift over here in such a way to extend the front to where I want it to be, and set up for an attack that I'm going to be launching very, very shortly. So, let's do those movements here. So, firstly, these units are going to ooze. Well, I guess I could. I guess the order doesn't really matter here too much. But I'm going to ooze this unit. Sorry, this unit. 1 over. I'm weakening this hex a little bit, so it's going to be a little bit in danger, but it's going to be a risky proposition. Then he's going to end up in this hex, but I'm also going to ooze this unit out of the hex to this hex. This unit's going to ooze over into this hex, and these guys are going to ooze into this hex. So you can kind of see what I'm doing. I'm extending the line. It's thinner, but I'm extending the line out, and then these units here are coming into this hex, and they're going to overrun an aircraft unit. So in 11.9.6 of the rules, which is in the land movement section for overrun, there's the first subsection there is overrunning aircraft units. So if an opponent's land unit moves or advances after combat into a hex containing your aircraft, destroy all your face-down aircraft. This does not destroy the pilot unless they are surprised, and rebase your face-up aircraft, blah, blah, blah. Well, this aircraft is face down, so it's going to get destroyed. So this will get added to the graveyard up here. We're starting to run out of places to put them. I'll put them up here just so I avoid some of the land areas here. But since that does not destroy the pilot, I believe that means that the Commonwealth pilots will actually go up by 1. So they were at 1 before, now they're up to 2. They have 2 free pilots. So as they build some aircraft units, they'll have some pilots to go out with them. We haven't really covered much in terms of the aircraft rules, but just know that basically balloons don't have pilots and don't need them. Zeppelins don't have pilots and don't need them. But any other type of aircraft, they just have this build cost, which is also the time it takes to build them. And then you also have to have had a pilot available to go into that plane before you can deploy it on the map. And they have a cost and time to build. So there's in World in Flames, the base game doesn't have that. They're all just you build a unit and you got it. It's in optional rules and expansions where you have the pilots and the units separated, and in this game in Fatal Alliances, that's just the default. And what it does is, you can have a plane be destroyed, but as long as that trained pilot is alive, you don't have to spend as much to get a functioning unit out there in the battlefield. So kind of an interesting layer of detail that I do appreciate, but that is still going to be an issue for morale because we destroyed those planes. So again, Commonwealth just getting crushed here because of that. So this movement is all complete. Because we took a port from the Allies, that is yet another political point. And now we've got all of these units sort of situated in a thinner line here, but I think we're going to have the ability to kind of solve the problem at this point. Now the only thing I'm a little worried about now is they might be out of supply, which is going to be one little problem. Because this guy's too far behind, this guy's too far behind, and I don't think... Yeah, I better double check the supply rules real quick. I may not be able to attack with these guys because of that, because they're out of supply right now. Or I've now, essentially put them out of supply. That's tough. That's tough. I wanted it to destroy those planes, but this puts me in a little bit more of a precarious position if I've done this. So I gotta see if there's some other way. See, the capital of a minor country conquered by the unit's major power. We haven't actually conquered Belgium yet. That doesn't happen till the end of the turn. And so, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Well, let's see if this attack 8, 13, 4. Well, maybe I'll do this instead. I'll only put the division out of supply. I'll sort of reverse time for a second and only move this guy out. That still destroys the planes, but instead I only lose 1 combat factor on the upcoming combat. And this guy might just get destroyed, but, you know, 2 build points, exchange for 2 build points, and the... Yeah, I think this is fine. And if the Central Powers are lucky enough to go first on the next turn, they're not going to have any surprise problems. So we'll take the risk with the Bavarian cavalry here, and we'll get into the attacks now. So let's check our sequence of play real quick. Land movement complete. Yes, our invasion. So again, we're going to have these units attack truck. The Germans are going to basically give up their notional unit. These guys will flip. They do take truck, and so the Germans now lose that, and we are going to roll a die for the U.S. entry. So I'm going to roll a die. If it's 2 or less, the U.S. Is going to lose an entry pool chit for the Japanese empowered in the Pacific, and just missed it. So the U.S. is not concerned with those developments. All right, so that's complete. Now we do get into the we do get into the sequence of play again. I closed it. I keep closing it. I don't know why I do that. Invasions, land combat. So this is going to be pretty simple. We're going to have the units down here do an attack. So we're going to have 4, 11, 13, 22, I think is what that is. 22 combat power. 4, 7, 11, 13, plus 9, 22 versus 6, which is basically 3-to-1 odds, so plus 6. We are going to use the balloons to do scouting. So we don't get a negative for not being observant. And then because we are attacking 2 face-down core, they're both supposed to be face-down. I think I screwed up on the thing here. That's actually a plus 4. So the total dice is a plus 10 bonus, which is pretty significant. This is going to go very badly, I suspect, for the Serbians. The Serbian war effort is about to get shut down big time. So we'll roll the 2d10. 24, which is nearly the best that you can get. 1.5 is destroyed. I actually don't think... Yeah, we don't have access to that, so they have to take the full losses. 1.5, if they could break a core down for a division, they could, have at least a division be left over, but they don't have any. I mean, that's it. They have to take the full losses at this point, and so that is going to be... They're totally annihilated. None of the attackers have to flip. We will have an advance after combat, and I think what we will do is we'll just have these guys advance. And the art can't advance, so it has to be left behind, which is fine. We probably won't need too much artillery now. We can maybe start sending the artillery back up. So these guys will advance. The last Serbian unit on the board is this mountain unit. And it's in the mountains, but at this point the road to Skopje is open, or at least will be very easy to get to at this point. So these guys did great here. That is a major victory, and so a pretty significant one at that. And so we get 2 political points for the Central Powers, and even more morale losses for the Russians. And then there was a possibility I was going to attack here, but the numbers don't work out now. I needed more of these units to flip. Just not going to happen here. Everywhere else is pretty much clogged up. We don't have really any more places. The only place now is here, and this is going to be 8, 12, 17, 17 to 4. So yeah, I think we are gonna make that attack. So yeah, 8, 12, 17. So in reality, 17 to 4 is 4 to 1 odds. So that's a +8 by itself. We are going to observe with the balloon, and the French are going to anti-observe here. So we still get a -1. So that's a +7. None of these guys are flipped, so it's just going to be a +7 die roll, which is kind of dicey, but this isn't bad, all things considered, for the die roll. If we roll even pretty good, I think we'll make out pretty well. At least that's what I hope. So let me see if there's any other bonuses involved. I don't think so. I think that is just it. Yeah, and I wanted to leave that core there to help defend this hex because I'm kind of stretching myself out thin. But I think that's good. So +7, let's see what happens. Yeah, it's not as good as I would have hoped. And we're going to have some problems here. That's unfortunate. Okay. So, the French are going to lose 1 whole unit. So they're just going to lose this guy here. Add more to the graveyard. We have to lose a half. And I think the problem is we don't have a whole lot of divisions. We don't have any divisions to actually substitute, which is going to be a problem. If we check the division rules towards the back of the rule book, that just did not go as well as I would have thought. Yeah, we can't. We just can't break down anything, so we're going to have to lose a whole unit as well, which essentially means it's not going to be a major victory, and all the attackers are going to have to flip. And in the riskiness that I've taken here, we'll lose this unit, which is unfortunate. And now this guy's got to flip. So this is, I mean, it's going to be kind of a tough situation. That hopefully would have gone just a little bit better if we had had just a little bit of a better bonus. We could have done a lot better, but yeah, that's just too bad. Okay. All right. Well, I think that's it for the attacks. So, let's see where we're at. Land combat, area bases. I don't think we're going to have any of that. Any reorganization at this point, I don't think we're going to have any of that. All of our HQs, I think, across the board are pretty much flipped for the time being, so that's as good as it's going to get. And yeah, reorganize. All right, so that's all we're gonna do, and now we're gonna roll to see if it's the end of the action stage. So again, looking at our potential die roll modifiers. It's just going to be the flat 5. None of our guys passed. And so if we roll a 5 or less, the action impulses end. If we roll 6 or higher, the allies get another impulse, and the odds are just going to make it much, much harder for there to keep being action. But this might be a possibility for the French to actually make maybe one attack at one of these depleted cavalry corps and hurt the Germans pretty badly. So now the Central Powers are really going to have to keep their fingers crossed and hope for an end of the turn here. So here comes the die roll. Oh man. Oh, that is just too bad. That is just too bad. So the Allies are going to get to go. They're going to get to go in what will be Impulse 12. This is a very long turn. This is a very long turn. We're reaching, to the end point. Wow. Okay. Well. Before I close out this video, let's see what kind of actions we even have to take here. The Commonwealth can maybe try to do some naval stuff. I don't really see a reason to do that. At some point, they're going to have to start moving their African units to start causing trouble, but there's just not a whole lot of options for that. They could make some attempt at Rabaul, but I just don't see it being a successful attack, to be honest. Yeah, not a whole lot that they can do here. The Commonwealth might just have to pass. I think the Russians would end up passing. Yeah, I don't know. Is there anything the Russians can do at this point? These guys are flipped. These guys aren't, but the odds aren't good. The odds aren't good. Yeah, there's just not really a lot of good options open right now to do any sort of attack. So let's look at the French situation. See, if I move these guys, they could actually... Well, they can't afford to move too much. So if we attacked 5 against 5, that's a +2, +4 to the die roll, probably wouldn't work. Could try to attack here, but that's combat strength of 6, so 5, 8, 13, +2... 2 to 1 +4, yeah, that's not really going to be good. I mean, at best, the French would only be able to move some units around maybe and try to attack one of these guys. And if they do, then they can ignore the morale issues. Yeah, that might be worth it. I don't know. We could cut off if we were the ally, let's think we're the allies, right? And we're in let's just say that we are playing our Impulse 12, right? Um, we could move. Yeah, it's worth a shot. Um, we'd be leaving ourselves heavily open here, but uh, yeah, let's just do it. So Commonwealth's going to pass, Russia's going to pass, and then the French are going to go. This is going to mean there's a -1 of the die roll at the end of the turn. We're going to move. We're just going to go ahead and move this unit and this unit here. Yes, that's leaving this hex mightily undefended, but at this point we're going to have time to move some more units up to the front. So that gives this hex a power of 8. They are going to declare an attack here on this unit. So that's 2-to-1 odds, so that's a +4. Becomes a +6 because he's flipped. Unfortunately, it's going to have to go unobserved. So that's +5. Now that's a really dicey die roll. But even if they manage to roll even roughly average, that's going to cause some heavy issues for the Germans because this flank is so weak. I think it's worth a shot. So now that they're declaring an attack, the French do not need to worry about that. For morale purposes, only the Commonwealth has gotten shafted. They are going to attack 8 here. 2-to-1 odds, +4, +2 for the disrupted core, -1 for the unobserved. And that's as good as it's going to get. +5. Let's see what happens. Oh! Okay, well. Okay, well, that wasn't good. Fortunately, the French can just lose this core, which. Okay, so losing. Okay. So losing 2 production for this division is still better than losing 4 morale. Losing 2 morale, because that's essentially what it's going to be. 2 morale points is better than losing 4 morale points. So yeah, it was better, I guess. It's not bad, and it gets some of our movement situated better. So I'll take it. The only thing is that did give the Germans more, or the Central Powers more political points because they won a major victory, which isn't ideal, but yeah. Oh well. Okay. Well, it was worth a shot. Like I said, sometimes you got to take those risks. +5's a pretty dangerous time to roll a dice, and we actually rolled under average, a little below average, or a fair bit below average, which can happen. So but we could take it, right? I mean, we didn't roll great, but we could handle the losses, and that means it's okay to attack if you can handle losing. So, whatever. Okay, so in terms of the very quick run through of the sequence of play, the Allies very quickly chose their actions. They did some movement. They performed some land combat. They can't really do any more air rebases at this point. None that makes sense, and there's no real reorganization that can take place. And so we are going to do the die roll. So looking again here, it is a 6 or less, but because the Commonwealth and the Russians passed, basically if we roll a 7 or less, the turn will end. So I guess fingers crossed. Even if the Central Powers go again, there's nothing they can really do. They're just going to pass, and it's going to guarantee the end of the impulse phase. So let's see what happens. We're going to roll the die. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? The turn goes on. The turn goes on. This is the longest turn of all time. This video is at 40 minutes. Let's just see if there's anything the Germans can do at this point. Yeah, there is. Yeah, there is. They can exploit this right here. They can exploit it, and they can exploit it hard. But the only problem is they, again, leave themselves very open. Hmm. All right. Well, let's just play through this as well. So we're looking at, we did impulse what, 11, 12, and now we're doing 13. 3 impulses all in a row. Let's see here. Well, what we're going to do, we're going to take this guy and this guy. They're going to come out to sea for an invasion of Kwajalein. The Austro-Hungarians are going to move up. Move up. Let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3. All these guys are flipped, so things are a little bit dangerous. I could actually retreat him out, and it might be smart to do that at this point. Nah, I'll leave him here. Presumably the Central Powers will go first, and they'll be able to sort of buff up these lines pretty easily. So I don't think the Germans are going to move anything. They're going to have an attack. They're going to have this corps and that corps attack this unit right here. I'm just trying to make sure I don't really screw myself here. Yeah, okay. So combat, whoops, didn't mean to flip him. So combat power of 8 versus 1. 8 to 1 odds is a plus 16. I wonder if there's no overruns of land units are permitted. Okay. Well, we've got 8 to 1 plus 16. I don't think we can fail this one, guys. So plus 16, the corps is here attacking right there. Plus 16. Ends up being 24, which blows this poor little division out of the water. Oh my gosh. And do we want to advance after combat? I think I'm going to decline the advance after combat. I want to keep my line a little more orderly. So that was just gravy, getting to pick that guy off. And everything else is just fine and dandy, at least at the moment. We're progressing, we're moving. Everybody's in more or less fine shape for supply everywhere that it matters at the moment. And yeah, that's it. That's all she wrote. Oh man, France just getting mauled here. Okay, so we very quickly ran through the sequence of play yet again. We did some, our invasion, right? Japan takes Kwajalein. and we will see, will the U.S. pull an entry? Nope. Nope. No change for the U.S. entry pool because of that. And at this point, most of the Pacific is all pretty much tied up. These islands can almost be ignored. Only thing that's left is Rabaul, which presumably the Japanese should be able to take next turn. At the beginning of the next turn, we'll see what happens. Okay, that is complete. And that just leaves us with the die roll. So the die roll is actually, there it is. Okay, we rolled a 1. I was going to say, we still could have failed it, but that is the end of the the impulses. Now, one special thing real quick to point out is that when you do the end of the impulse die roll, what you need to check or validate is who had the first and last impulses of the turn that's basically ending at this point. And if impulses end and the side and one side had both the first and last impulse in the turn, you move the initiative marker 1 space towards the opponent's end of the initiative track. So because the Central Powers went first when they invaded Serbia, and now they've gone last on impulse 13, this actually slides 1 down, which means that essentially the Central Powers have a lesser chance of getting to go first or deciding who goes first in the next turn. So things might not be as good for the Central Powers as they think. They might have overextended themselves a little tiny bit. So, okay. There we go. 47-minute video. We managed to get through 3 impulses, 11, 12, and 13. A lot happened. A lot went on. Zoom out a little bit so you can appreciate the current state of the map. So the Central Powers have actually done pretty well. The Eastern Front is kind of slowed down and is stagnant for the moment. Serbia is falling pretty quickly, and while the Western Front has seen a lot of blood in multiple areas, the French have gotten walloped pretty badly, and they're really going to be reliant on their reinforcements that are about to come in, of which they're going to get a fair number, as well as all of their reserves. So while the Germans did pretty well here, it would have been nice to have taken Lille here, which they failed to take, and essentially it's going to get a lot harder to punch through here. The only saving grace being that the French are probably going to be hurting quite a bit on morale. They lost a fair number of units here. And well, I guess the Germans did too, all things considered. They lost a fair number of naval units. The Commonwealth's going to take some pretty hard hits on morale, so we'll have to see how that goes. So I think we'll call it here, and in the next video, we will start the end of turn stage, which involves things like partisans, production, morale impacts, some victory check, which won't really be relevant, and a bunch of political actions. So I'm not sure if that's going to fit all in one video. I don't think so. I think I'll do a video for partisans and U.S. entry, then probably a video on pre-calculating morale and then doing production and why you need to do it that way, or why you should do it that way, and then we'll finally probably end up with a morale and political action video or something like that. We'll see how it goes. So thank you for watching. Hope this has been entertaining and educational for you. We'll catch you next time. Thanks for watching.